Thanks for joining day 13 of 30 Days of Death Records. My name is Nicole, and today I want to talk about a type of death record that is publicly sourced, specifically on Find a Grave. As with any record, you always want to approach your research with an analytical eye, and some records deserve more scrutiny than others. So while the information on Find a Grave can be wrong, it could also be the one clue pointing you to the records that you need. Sometimes we have an ancestor that just didn't create much of a paper trail, and the few records that they do appear in are difficult to find. For someone like Charles I, who was born about 1861 and died in 1893, I've only been able to find a handful of records for his entire life so far. But I'm certainly intrigued by what I've learned, which is that he married my third great grandma when he was around 28, and she was likely about 42 at the time, though it's difficult to say because she had a habit of tweaking her age in records. I suspected that something went awry not long after they married in 1891, after I discovered Charles still living in Chicago, but at a different address than Rose just 1 year after their marriage. It was a voter registration that I had found him in, and it indicated that he had been at this new address since July of 1892, meaning that he moved out the same month that they would have celebrated their 1 year anniversary. The next record that I had for him was the Illinois Death Index when he died a year later on July 7th, 1893, indicating that Charles was still married when he died. Without a death certificate or an obituary, it all seemed pretty mysterious. My next step would be to contact the cemetery, but I wasn't sure where he was buried. That is until the beginning of this year in January, when someone uploaded his burial information to Find a Grave. I felt hopeful that this could be accurate because the location of his grave within the cemetery was given. But I would need to follow up with the cemetery just to be sure. Nonetheless, I was happily surprised to see that he was likely buried at Graceland Cemetery, a cemetery that I've spent a lot of time at and I've grown very fond of over the years. It's fascinating how research can intersect with our lives like that, don't you think? You could be walking in your ancestors' footsteps and not even know it until the day that you do, and then these places become even more meaningful. Now I would get to conduct my own family history research at the beautiful Graceland Cemetery, and I wondered where he was buried and if I had actually inadvertently visited it before in my earlier visits. Tune in tomorrow where I'll tell you how this Find a Grave discovery helped solve the mystery of what became of Charles I.